you the latest reports.
Good morning. It's exactly 7 o'clock. Let's quickly take a look at our headlines, followed by our full bulletin news for this hour. Vut Fm. And I'm Lebahandashe. Higher electricity and fuel prices pinned as the reasons for the repo rate hike. Gauteng COSATU rallies behind Nihawu strike at UNISA. And lastly, 40 French companies plan production bases in Tanzania. Full details on those stories coming up next. Higher electricity and fuel prices leading to climbing inflation have been cited as the main reasons why the South African Reserve Bank have hiked the repo rate by 50 basis points. Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago made the announcement yesterday, stating that the bank's forecast of headline inflation for this year is revised higher to 5.9% from 5.8%, primarily due to the high food and fuel prices. Those with bonds and credit cards will now be paying significantly more for their debt as the bank moves to contain inflation. South Africans saw considerable relief from the Reserve Bank at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020 with a series of decreases in the repo rate. But with the global conditions changing with the war in Ukraine, the high food and fuel prices, the situation has now changed. Kganyago said that there were a number of factors driving inflation, including electricity and oil prices, driven by what was happening in Ukraine. But he said that the economy was set to expand orbit, not at its potential recovery from the pandemic. The increased repo rate has been expected for some time, but will still come as a blow for those already in debt. The governor said that the Monetary Policy Committee would continue to monitor the inflation and act further if needed. The Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU in Gauteng, has thrown its weight behind striking workers affiliated to the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union in Nihawu at the University of South Africa, UNISA, over dismissal of 5 employees who are also the union's shop stalwarts. The demonstration have entered a 4th week, with the union accusing the university's Vice-Chancellor, Puleng Nkambula, of not following procedures when terminating the staffers' contracts. Last month, several graduations at the institution were brought to an abrupt halt by disgruntled workers who hijacked proceeding at the ZK Matthews Hall in the Pretoria over allegations Nkambula had undermined last year's collective bargaining by awarding a handful of staff members a salary increases. COSATU Gauteng Secretary Louisa Mudikwe says that they continue to call for the lunchtime pickets and demonstration at the Department of Higher Education and Training, including TVET colleges and universities in Tshwane, and show this abnormal behavior of the Vice-Chancellor and the University of remaining opposed to constructive engagement. They will definitely call for a secondary strike. And lastly, let's quickly take a look at our international story for this hour. Tanzania's government has met with 40 French companies that plan to develop production bases in the country. The move aims to improve the balance of the trade between the two countries. The companies deal in, among others, energy, construction, aviation, infrastructure, finance, tourism, and health. And the rand at this hour is trading at 15.88 cents to the US dollar, 19.77 cents to the pound, and lastly 16.78 cents to the euro. Now commodities, the gold is trading at $1,841.58 an ounce, platinum is trading at $963 an ounce, and lastly the Brent crude oil is trading at $112.04 per barrel. Let's quickly close it off with weather update for this hour. Most parts of the Gauteng province are expected to have clear blue skies, with Johannesburg sitting at 7 degrees Celsius. Expected to peak to the highs of 20 degrees Celsius later in the afternoon. Pretoria 10 and 22, and lastly Vereeniging 8 and 21. For now, though, let's quickly take a recap of the top stories for this hour. Higher electricity and fuel prices pinned as the reasons for the repo rate hike. Gauteng COSATU rallies behind the Nihawu strike at UNISA. And lastly, 40 French companies plan production bases in Tanzania. That's all the news I have for you for this hour. I'll be back with another news at the top of the hour. But for now, though, welcome to the second hour of the Morning Fix.